verification code, but I hope not. But I think it's
It
going to let
says
us.
you're live on
Meeting
YouTube
is
right
now
now.
streaming live on YouTube.
Okay, great. Well, if that's the case, if everybody's okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
I'm going to mute.
Okay. All right. All right, everybody. Welcome to the JCBA March 2021 meeting. We're very thankful to have anybody out there watching and to be able to speak, be able to speak to you this with the current COVID-19 situation. We're still working through those, and we'll be communicating to you through Zoom and the YouTube from this point forward until the foreseeable future. We're still in talks with our agriculture center, and until we can reach full capacity, we've decided to stay Zoom and virtual to avoid any unnecessary exposure for some of our members. So until we can ensure that we're at full capacity, we're going to continue to do so. So welcome again, and we're happy that you're here. First thing we want to talk about is our club business for March 2021. First off, foremost, the most important piece is our club membership dues. Membership dues is very important for us right now. It's been a little bit difficult for you to come to the club and deposit your check with our secretary or treasurer. So it's a little bit of a different scenario, but we do want to say that there's ways for you to be able to get your membership dues in, whether it be mailing them to our ag center or simply dropping it off at the extension agency. We can easily pick it up there in good communication with us, and they'll make sure we get them. So once again, if you're interested in joining the JCBA B Club, please, please, please renew your membership. And again, this is only for people who did not have a membership last year. So keep that in mind. If you were a member in 2021 and you are a paid member, we are allowing your membership to roll forward into 2021. So again, just membership, keep that on the forefront for 2021, please. The next piece we wanted to talk about was just some news and updates. We have a grant opportunity with our local 4-H club. Thanks to Courtney at the Ag Center, as well as John. They've been in communication, and turns out there's $500 available that we have applied for that would open us up to buying bee suits to promote 4-H members to come out during their summer fun program and have hands-on experience with a beehive. We think that's great. That goes right along with what the club enjoys doing, and we hope to see ourselves going in the future is creating sustainable beekeeping, and that is in meaning new members and teaching them the basics as best we can. So be excited about that. We hope to fill you in as soon as we get some information about whether we were accepted or not. The next pieces we have is we're currently having bee school. Mr. Al Hildreth, he is teaching that at the moment. We did have quite a few people end up signing up, so we're very thankful that that's occurred. And again, I want to push that over. Al, if you've got anything you want to say, I put you on the spot today. I know you weren't expecting it, but yeah, I'll turn it over to you if you want to say a few things.
Yeah. If anybody's wanting to has a friend or anybody that doesn't know about bees and they're interested, we've only covered one week so far. So you could still join and pick up last week's, which covered history of beekeeping and products that they have. So that's pretty much the only thing that you've missed. So anyway, it's a virtual training, and I think we've got 21 people total in the class, which some are actually families. So that we're doing one person or a whole family or whatever for the same price this year, and it includes membership to the Johnson County Bee Club as well. So for families, they're getting a $15 benefit out of that, or individuals are getting $10. And we also still urge people to join the state bee club, because we'll be offering a certification written exam at the end of the class. So that's about it.
Absolutely. And again, guys, just if you're interested, and you're wanting to keep bees this year, there's still time. There's seats available in Al's class, and it's virtual, so you don't have to leave the comfort of your home. And then it'll get you a membership with the JCBA, as well as we'll get you taking the entry level examination for the State Beekeepers Association. So once again, guys, that's a great opportunity. Al's been teaching this class for some time, and he does a fantastic job. So if you're interested, please consider signing up and reaching out to us any way you can, and we'll make sure you get that information. So with B School membership dues and grant opportunities, this kind of led into what I wanted to speak about today in our March meeting. It's an early start on the year, but we did want to present our club with our budget for the upcoming 2021 year. So I want to share my screen for a moment, and if you'll bear with me while I do so, I'm going to see if I can get this up on the screen so all of our members can see it. One moment. So please bear with me. I'm a little technologically behind at the moment. So, all right, here we go. Okay. Well, I have managed to lose my screen, but bear with me. Let me see if I can find it. Well, I'm sorry, everybody. Give me one moment, please, while I try to find this. As you can tell, still getting acclimated to our current situation with COVID and everything. We're having to do a lot of hurdles to make sure we have all of our technological ducks in a row. And so while I get this up, I'll go ahead and just talk to you, pretty much what the JCBA wants to do this year is we're really focused on building our club apiary, and we feel like this is extremely important to not just us currently, but also going forward. And it has been our goal to build a place for 4-H members and children to come visit, and then anybody interested that takes our B school and feels like they need hands-on experience. So all right, can anybody see my screen now? Maybe. Okay, all right, well, great. So with that being said, what we're getting at is these numbers are based off of previous 2020 year. It was a rough year, so it's a little bit off possibly, but we're using a good estimate of years in the past of what we expect. And first and foremost, our membership dues, dues paid by members. We know that that's going to be a little bit of a lower number this year, and I see that I have possibly, $350 we're going to expect from members paying, and we like to see that number go high. And again, this is on the low end. Our goal was to kind of keep this as low, our income as low as possible, and our expenses a little bit higher than what we normally would. This is just to give us some cushion so that we're not expecting more income than what we should, and we're not really depending upon it at the end of the year. So first thing, we're expecting, about $350 from memberships throughout the year. Again, a big income producer for our club is B School. That creates new members for us. That's a good way for us to build up the club, and as well as teach the members that we have coming in. So we expect, about $1,200 worth of profits coming in from it. And that's registration fees, and of course the Ag Center gets their cut as well. And then the next line item we have here is our raffle. We plan to hold at least 3 raffles, possibly once we get back into the Ag Center. We'll be able to raffle off some items. There's been talks of hives, full body hives, hive boxes. a package of bees. We have several things in store. It's just a matter of when we get back inside of the Ag Center. So we would hope, that would produce us with $200 worth of income. And if
Ashton,
anyone's out there and they do remember the previous years of us holding a silent auction, there was plenty of good items on sale there, and I think those will be a returning item, and we'll see them again. So about $200 from our silent auction, and then uh, we have T-shirt sales as well. I don't know how many of you guys actually have some JCBA attire, but we do have shirts and hats, and they look great. Maze sort of coordinated that over the previous years, and they turn out fantastic. I see folks wearing them from time to time, and I'm very jealous and need to get myself a hat. Some of them, we have a variety of sorts. So if you're interested in those, while it's not a big area that we expect income from, we do expect to see about $30 worth come in from T-shirt and hat sales.
Ashton.
Yep.
Can we zoom in on the?
Oh yeah, sure.
Just to make it a little bit bigger.
Sure thing. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Does that help a little bit?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Absolutely. So the next thing we have here is honey sales. Another reason for building up our club apiary honey sales. This also creates a massive income for our club. We distribute that through the Ag Center, and they thankfully do really well at getting it sold to people that come in and making them aware that they can purchase that. And so what we're looking at is, possibly $9 a jar at 65 jars. So that's going to bring in roughly about $585. And again, that's an estimate. So that brings our total income to $2,565 for our income throughout the year. And so expenses, once again, this is a building year for us. We're wanting to get that apiary up as quick as possible and getting it strong and healthy so that we have increased, bee school activities, increased honey sales. So it's been a big topic in the previous meetings with the board. And what we want to do is we want to put $1,000 aside for our club apiaries. And that guys, that includes a variety of things. That's hive boxes, that's hive tools, that's, any feed we need, any, mite treatments, anything that might be needed to manage, roughly about 7 to 8 to 10 hives throughout the year. And, if you haven't seen previous meetings, thankfully we do have a new shelter and storage building that we're able to put a lot of these items in. So we're wanting to make sure we have enough on standby for any situation we may face in the apiary. Then next, what we've got down here is monthly meetings. This number is slightly reduced this year, and that's because, we're not meeting in person. So we're not having door prizes. We're not really seeing guest speakers face to face, and they don't need a gas card or anything since they're doing it on Zoom. And again, there's no food because sadly, especially on my part, we can't get together and eat together. So we've reduced that down to about $200. And we expect if we were able to get into the Ag Center about June or July, we would have about $200 set aside for these items. And then one of our major expenses that we have every year is $1,000 set aside for our annual club holiday party. And that's that usually runs about $1,000, and that's something that's also tentative at the moment until we're sure we're going to be meeting in person again. But again, we do want to have that money set aside for when we do get back together and hopefully can fellowship and have a good time with each other. So $1,000 set aside for a holiday party. And then other costs, this is for storage costs we may run into that we need additional storage for anything. It could be state fair equipment. That's our website cost is lumped in there. That's Zoom costs. There's just a few odds and ends that we've lumped together with that $570. So that's about how much it costs to keep administrative items running throughout each year. And so that brings our total expenses to $2,770 and estimated in-year balance of $6,015. So, if you're out there, you want to pause it on the video and take a look and get some questions out to us, you're more than welcome. But for the time and for 2021, this is what we're going to work off of, and this is our plan to move forward throughout 2021. So again, thanks everyone. And if you got any questions, please reach out. I'll happily answer and get you the answers you need if I don't have them available. All right, so I'm going to go back in, stop sharing my screen here. So the next thing I wanted to mention is that we do have Guy Collins has donated a package of bees, and we're expecting to pick those up in April 8th. So we're super excited about that. That's another hive that we're going to place in our apiary. It's again contributing right to where we want to be, is building that apiary. And if you see Guy, you run into him at any meetings, just tell him thank you. It means a lot to us. We're really, really pleased that he's done that. It means a lot to us, and we hope to be good stewards of his bees and hope that many people can get a lot of good use out of them. And then last, I know that if you don't have bees and you're looking to get bees, we have multiple people in the club that do sell. So if you're interested, please reach out to us. We can find somebody that can get you a package of bees this year. I think we still have some available. Al, I don't know if you want to speak to it, or if there's anybody else out there that would like to.
Yeah. I still have like 25 packages for the second shipment that comes in April. It'll be April 10th.
Okay.
And I also have, I'm also offering Ron Lassiter's nukes. I think I've got 5 deeps left and maybe 10 mediums. So I know Ron's also selling them himself. I'm not sure how many he has left.
Absolutely. So plenty of people to get you bees if you need them, guys. Just reach out to us and we'll happily answer or point you in the right direction again. So last thing, that's all I have to say. I know it was long-winded. I know it was something we needed to push through. That's one thing that's needed every year is present that budget. So rough stuff's over with now, and we're going to get back to the topic of bees. And John, if you're able, we'll turn it over to you for the Beekeeper's Corner.
Okay, I can do the Beekeeper's Corner first.
Okay.
Basically, Ron sent me a note over that said that his hives are putting on about 40 pounds of nectar a week right now, his real strong hives. So you need to be looking at your super situation. Also, you need to be checking for queen cells and get in your hives and see what's going on. And of course, I think the earliest you probably can do that is sometime Friday to Sunday, somewhere in there. We may have a warm day. I think we will have a warm day on Thursday, but I think it's going to rain. There's some good pictures in the Beekeeper's Corner that Nathan sent over of foundation with eggs, larvae, and bees on it. It's a real nice picture. You can really see the eggs well. Also, Ron wanted me to emphasize the hive beetles are a real problem. We're still seeing that. Next item, we are approximately 2 weeks behind this year due to the cold and rainy weather. And Adolphus was in Ron's bees today, and he made that comment. So swarm season's coming up. This month's informational notes has a Home Depot swarm catch bucket with telescopic pole. You might want to look at that. You can buy that at Home Depot. Limit your hive inspections below 60 degrees. Know why you're inspecting. I can't believe that you need to feed bees right now. If you need to, feed them 1-to-1, but there's plenty of food out there for them. You need to get your queen excluders on and make sure your queens move below the excluder. Also, now's the time to get comb drawn. And I think if you leave them a space, they will put burr comb there in a heartbeat. Also, get your swarm traps ready. Nathan sent over an interesting video, YouTube video on swarm traps. I think it's one of the best I've seen. Also, 5 counties wrote up something on swarm traps for Bee Buzz this month, and it's worth looking at. Don't forget about Drift Watch. You need to get your hives renewed. What what's blooming? Dandelion, red maple, sugar maple, maybe some blackberry, possibly not. Next month, Phil's going to help me with the bloom report. So I think I'll be able to tell you more what's going on with blooming and pollen. We ought to see the temperatures continue to increase. Let's see, what else do I need to say? Start your inspections with your IPM boards. One interesting thing, we were in the apiary this weekend, and we were able to correlate the IPM boards to a sugar shake and to an alcohol wash. And they pretty much correlated. The alcohol wash was the most accurate, but the IPM boards, if you got less than about 22 mites on an IPM board that's been in service for 72 hours, it was cleaned, oiled, and put in, and you read it in 72 hours, that is less than 2% on your mites. So it correlated well this weekend. We were surprised. When you're in your hives, take a look at your queen laying pattern and look at your bee numbers. If the queen's failing, you ought to be able to get queen sometime late March, early April. If you got any sugar winter patties, candy boards, bricks, I think you need to go ahead and take them off. Based on what we saw, we had some winter patties on the apiary hive, and the mites had gotten into them. No, not mites, but the small hive bite beetle larvae had gotten into them big time. So that's going to just make your small hive beetle problem worse. And of course, it's swarm season. Okay, you need to make sure that your hives are not honey bound. And that's easy to happen right now with all this flow coming in. You may need to pull some frames out and put empty frames in if it's just full of honey to give the queen a place to lay. And you may need to switch your double brood box from the box on top needs to go on the bottom. And you may need to be done in about another 2 or 3 weeks. Your super frames, you may want to checkerboard them, like full, empty, so on. So the bees will be encouraged to work those empty frames and prevent swarming. My guess is if you haven't put a super on, you need to get a super on somehow, some way, even if you don't get an excluder on. If you need comb drawn, this is the time of year to get it. They want to draw a comb real bad right now. And if you got a weak failing hive, you might want to go ahead and do your combinations. Once again, small hive beetles are going to be a problem this year, the way it looks. So you need to stay on beetle control. I hope Al has plenty of traps to sell because people are going to need them. The varroa mites, the 2% limit, you need to watch. The alcohol wash gives you the best results. Sugar shake works well. And the IPM boards, it's a 30 mite limit for 72 hours. We didn't have those boards on 72 hours. That's why I used 22 mites. If you got more than 2% mite load, you need to figure out how to treat them. Right now, it's say formic acid's your best choice. I don't like formic acid, but I think that's the only choice you got right now because your AppGuard and Apivar require the supers to be off, and oxalic acid doesn't treat under the cat brood. Yeah, you got Formic Pro and Mite Away. You just need to make sure that the temperature's not going to get up. If you need to treat, go ahead and do it now while the temperatures are cooler. It's when you get in those high temperatures that you have the problems with formic acid, in my opinion. Also, with formic acid and Mite Away, You need to take out your entrance reducer 100%. It's got to be gone. Pulling your bottom or your IPM board doesn't work. The bees need to be able to circulate that formic acid. So you need that entrance reducer completely gone. And in that place, I would put a wire screen so that robbing's not an issue. With respect to apiaries, you need to start looking for things you can trip on. Look for any dead limbs that could fall on your hives. Also start looking for fire ants because it's that time of year. And make sure your outer cover is strapped down or a block or something on it so it doesn't blow off. Your 2021 prep, you need to order nukes, package bees and queens. You need to get your equipment ready. Give your jacket a good look over, make sure you don't have any holes in it that the women folks from the hive can come visit you and surprise you. And does your smoker need cleaning? Now's a good time to do it. Reminder, we've got the extraction tools, the uncapping rollers, uncapping knives, oxalic acid vaporizer available at the Ag Center. They also can test your honey for moisture. And I would love apiary folders from anybody else other than Phil, May, and Nathan, since they already provide me with so many. And I would love some snide comments. So we have a visit with our friend Phil Crump. I went and visited him at his workshop in Raleigh. There's some nice pictures there. I'll take a good read of that, and that's all I've really got, unless you got any questions on apiary.
Thank you, John. All right, if there's no questions, I kind of put John on the spot there. I know we go ahead, Al.
Can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Should be able to share it now, Al.
Okay. I know John mentioned the swarm season. I'm not saying this is the first one in Johnston County, but it's the first one of any of the beekeepers I know of. It came over from Paula Woodall. She's over on Galilee Road. And what you see here, there's a sweet potato box in the bottom, and there's one of those swarm traps where they tell you the exact measurements to make that bees prefer. But as you can see, the bees have gone to her sweet potato box below it. And she just had two old combs in there, and it attracted them. And then she put them in a hive later that day. And she also put like a queen excluder entrance thing on so the queen couldn't leave. Because I think she was thinking this is one of her swarms. So I think she's got 7 hives or something over there. Anyway, that's all I was going to share.
Al, the informational notes this month, that YouTube video talks about how a single deep is almost a preferred size versus the other box that she has up there. And Nathan was building those other boxes, and he's the one that sent me over the thing on the single deep. So,
right.
Anyway.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. We had a question out on Facebook, John. They want to know, where do we send snipe comments and apiary pictures to?
It's let me get to the right page. Black Tan Hounds, BlackTanHounds @yahoo.com.
All right, you heard it. No pictures of the apiary, just snipe comments. So please send everything you got and more to that address, please.
Not before 10 a.m. though.
Always before 10 a.m., just as early as you can. Later
No,
than
no, no, no. Mr. Champ won't like that. He might bite me.
that.
My dog's old.
John wants you to know he's open for questions 24/7. So send as many as you can. That's phone calls too. So I thank you guys, and John's been taking care of our apiaries this season, and they've turned out fantastic. We got a lot of good looking hives out there. Went out this past weekend. We did mite checks, just alcohol and sugar wash. We had some good members, some beginners. We had an all range of beekeepers out there, and they got some hands-on experience on a very, very important topic of beekeeping. So again, John led that charge. So thank you. And if you have an opportunity to take a look at the apiary schedule, go out and visit. It's a great time. So the next thing is we're going to turn it over to our speaker today. Is our program director, is Jason Burt. He is going to speak to us this month about the importance of drones and why you should be looking for them now. And he's got a good presentation ready for you. So without further ado, here's Jason. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you, Ashton. I'm going to share my screen now. You guys have it?
We can see it.
Fantastic. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining. Tonight, I do want to talk to you about drones. Most of us know what they do, but some of us don't even consider how important they are. So drones are the other half of your queen mating operation, and they are the key to proper queen mating. Drone production is a major limiting factor in spring and fall queen production, because as everybody knows, we just don't have them right now. John said we're 2 weeks late, and that makes sense. I think last year I already had laying queens. I had new laying queens already going this time last year, and I just saw my first drone yesterday. So it's been way behind. So I want to start with a quote. Criteria used to judge the colony include honey yield, gentleness, calmness on the comb, resistance to disease, and body color. The beekeeper might use this assessment to decide from which colony the next breeder queen is to come. However, there is a difficulty which is perhaps not well appreciated when the queen has been openly mated. The egg laid by the queen, which is to become the new queen, could have been fertilized by a drone whose genes possess little of the genetic qualities required. This is the gamble the beekeeper takes and explains why the performance of a new queen could be a disappointment. So first of all, what are drones? Drones are the male bees. Drones don't collect pollen or nectar. Drones don't tend brood or make wax. If drones don't do any of the day-to-day work in the hive, why are they even needed? Well, obviously drones have one type of job that they perform that no other bees in the colony can do. They mate with the queen. So I want to talk to you just a little bit about the life cycle of the drone, and I can take any questions if anybody, whenever you have those questions, just Ashton, if any questions come up on YouTube, stop me and let me know. And if anybody else has any questions, definitely let me know. So most people who raise queens can tell you what day the queen will emerge, but far fewer people keep track of drone production. Drones require 37 days from the time that the egg is laid until the drone can mate. Queens start to mate as early as 20 days. So given that drones need a 17-day head start, I do not recommend even starting splits or grafts until 7 days after you have observed capped brood, just to be safe. Here's a nice photo that I wanted to show everybody in case anyone hasn't seen drone brood. So this is a great example of drone brood on the right. I guess it would be your left, and then this is standard worker brood on the right. Most of you have seen this, but I don't know how many people have actually seen all of this. So these photos here, I want to specifically show you, want to focus on days 5 through 9 for the larva production. So these are how many days that the larva has been capped. So at day 5, we're going to focus on the eyes for these drones specifically. So you can see that they just have pale eyes. On day 6, they have slightly pink eyes. On 7, they get to be more purple, and so on until they completely turn black. So if you guys have any questions about any of this, let me know. And I do have this chart separately if anybody wants a copy of it. I know Ron and I were talking about it last week. So this is something specific that could be beneficial for if you have capped drones and you want to make sure that you know how old those drones are. So I just want to be clear with everybody, we're only going to scratch the surface of genetics. There's no way that we could cover in depth all the different genetic aspects of drones tonight. Just some basic vocabulary words that I want to make sure that everybody's clear about. So genotype is the chemical composition of the DNA. So these are the inherited traits that the bees receive either from the queen or from the parent drone. Phenotype, these are the observable characteristics these are the things that you can see about the colony. Haploid refers to cells that have only one set of chromosomes. So I hope everyone knows that drones are haploid, and worker bees and queens are diploid. So they have 2 sets of chromosomes. So just try to remember, genotype is unseen and phenotype is seen. Remember the quote from earlier, honey yields gentleness, calmness on the comb, resistance to disease and body color. So these are all traits that you can observe in your bees. So these are all phenotypes that should be important to most of us, or at least looking out for if we're going to try and if we're going to try and select for better queens in our apiary. So as you can see here, this is an example queen, and you can see that she has she has 2 possible variations of drones that she can produce. For simplicity purposes, we're just going to call them A1 or A2 because this can, like I said, this can go very in depth, and I don't know if anybody wants to go there with me. We can have a different conversation later, but this is just very basic. It's about the 6th grade comprehension level for understanding that she can have an A1 drone or she can have an A2 drone. So in this example, you can see the same possibilities for A1 and A2, but this is only assuming that she has bred with these 5 drones and not 20 drones that she could possibly breed with. So in this example, you can see the different possible outcomes just from these 5 drones. You can have 10 possible outcomes for workers in the colony. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Not seeing any yet.
Okay. So I found this picture. I thought this was fun. So that it's a fake queen it's a scent pheromone. It's a drone that's carrying the scent pheromone, and these are drones that are chasing it. I thought that was something that you guys might be interested in seeing. So here's an example of why phenotype is important. So the queen from this hive is a European dark bee, but you can see that by one of the workers in yellow that the queen also bred with a drone that was not like the others. The author thinks that the unknown drone may have been a buckfast, which are lighter in color. So you can see, if you notice the bodies here, they're all darker, and then this one B this one worker has a lighter body. So her father was a drone that wasn't from the neighborhood, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So this is partly how you can tell different drones are breeding in your area. As many of you know, I'm very interested in different combinations of drones to fight the varroa problem. Some of those alternatives are the VSH drones. Some of you may have heard of the ankle biter drones, the mite mauler drones. But the bottom line is that I believe good drone production is the key to good genetic diversity. Drones are a viable part of queen production. Even with the risk of mites, you need to produce drones from your best queens to help ensure that good genetics are passed along. That's everything. Trying to keep it short for the meeting, in case we had to talk about the budget. Anybody have any questions for me?
That was excellent, Jason.
That was
Probably.
definitely necessary. I don't think I've heard anybody talk about drones before to that extent.
Likewise.
I guess I was anticipating some more questions along the way, or
We've got about 7 currently viewing on YouTube. Is anybody out here on Zoom? You should be able to unmute and ask any questions if you like.
So
Jason's-
Jason,
Okay, go ahead, Greg.
I'm sorry, John. Yeah, so do you actually, or are you planning on, I know you've got some, I'm gonna call them special queens, VSH queens coming. Are you planning on actually trying to encourage drone production? I'm a big fan of Bob Beanie. Watch a lot of his videos, and he cost me a lot of money, it seems like. So one of the latest videos I've seen, he talks about having an actual drone comb in all of his hives. He tries to keep at least one drone comb in there, and it's not just his mating hives. He goes on to talk some more about that. The presence of drones has more. There's more things going on than just the mating part of it. That a colony actually is happier. Maybe I don't know what that really means in bee terms, but anyway, that it's more content with drones in there. But anyway, I'm rambling to get to the point. Are you planning on encouraging them? I actually went out and bought some. I hate the green plastic just because I want wood in mine, because it has to be wood. If you're in the timber business, you got to have some wood somewhere. So I actually bought the drone foundation from Better Bee and started putting them in my hives. I'm just curious if that's part of your plan.
Absolutely. I have drone production frames, and I ran some last year. I ran them for brood breaks, and I ran them to be able to, like everybody does, to be able to freeze the drone brood. But also I have already put them in anticipation of being able to artificially produce extra drone numbers. I am actually working on, I happen to live in Clayton, and so around Clayton we have several areas where I'm going to be producing drones around the Clayton area. So there's definitely going to be an abundance, I'm hoping, of VSH drones saturating this area. So, and actually somebody may be bringing some nukes over to one of my bee yards so that they can breed their queens nearby with other queens from those drones. So that's actually, I think I got that idea from 5 counties a couple years ago to have a centralized area to produce the drones. But I'm absolutely doing that. I will say that one of the ideas that I got from Betsy last year was to put, if you do want that wood frame, would be to put a medium frame into a deep box, and then if they want to build the drone comb, then they can definitely build it on there. And I don't know how much May hates scraping it off, but it does help if you can cut into those drone combs and look for mites and see how many mites are there, especially if brood breaks and drone prevention is one of your mite treatments. But yes, thank you for that question.
I wanted to make the comment that so often I've heard people say, well, you got too many drones, or, you don't need that many drones. You need to prevent them from laying drones. And my thought is they need to do whatever they want to do, because that's what nature calls for them to do. And every time you go against them, you end up losing, I think. I think the hives naturally need a certain, I don't know, 15, 17, 18% of drones. I don't know what everybody else's take on that is. Maybe I'm off base, but
Well, obviously, if I have a hive that is not a queen that I want to reproduce, if let's say that she's a little bit more defensive than other queens, her daughters are more defensive, then I'm not going to put drone comb into that colony. And then I'm gonna, obviously I'm gonna work on, if I'm not gonna replace that queen with a different queen, at the very least, then I'm going to try and breed out, breed down those traits. There is a friend of mine who supposedly has a Russian colony that's been out in the woods for a couple years, and claims that they're very defensive. And so actually I might get you involved in that one, John, to see if we can figure out how to breed them down.
Generally, what I find with my colonies, other than just one particular one, I don't have any trouble with the Russians unless I take brood. And then the game's on. They don't like you to take brood. They're just going to get so defensive. It's hard. Once that brood gets in the gator, the game's on. They're going to bump you and do everything they can to get at you. So,
yeah, and I move a lot of brood because I'm making splits, and I'm making mating nukes, and I'm splitting and splitting and splitting again, and dropping cells. And so I have to, if a colony wasn't nice to me about moving brood, they would have to find a new home.
You wouldn't like some of my Russians then.
No, not for sure. Although I have given away queens that were, that were not nice queens, just because I can never bring myself to pinch them. So.
Oh.
Anybody else? Ashton, we get any questions?
I haven't gotten any out on YouTube
Okay.
at this point.
Okay.
I haven't been monitoring Facebook though.
If anybody is watching this after, or after it's been published on YouTube, then definitely post the comments in the, post your questions, or you can find me on there, and or you can send me a message. I'm on the Bee Club Facebook page or wherever. And then I'm not putting my phone number on here. I'm not making that mistake, but I'm not accepting calls 24/7, 365. But I talk to a lot of people on Facebook about a lot of bees, and so
I've got one question about drones. Where you've got some workers laying drone eggs, does that produce a viable drone?
Theoretically, it produces a viable drone, but I actually no, I take that back, because I have seen it actually in the 5 counties bee yard. I saw an example where a laying worker had laid a non-viable egg. It was a drone egg, and it actually went full term, and it hatched, and and you could tell that the bee was a drone. It just had been laid in a worker cell, and so it was smaller. It was, it had big eyes, but it was, it was definitely a drone. And I am actually planning to do an experiment with, if I get a queen, if anybody gets a queen that is not that's not laying very well, rather than destroying her, I do want to try taking a queen basically that either hasn't been properly mated or potentially not mated at all, and then just have her lay drone eggs and see, how well they do in other hives. But I have actually seen, yes, I've actually seen laying workers make a viable drone. It's just, it is rare, but it's possible. And then obviously
Okay.
that's the only way that they could still reproduce themselves.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm pretty sure Al may know this better than I do, but I'm pretty sure that a laying worker will make a drone, and that drone can mate with the queen. But the catch is that they're usually little runny little drones, and they can't compete with a show enough, a fully developed drone. So they rarely mate with the queen. I think that's right.
I think that's nature's way of controlling it.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
right.
My test for that, Greg, would be that if we could get a box of, just a small container of workers and put them in and try and let them lay eggs into full-size drone cells, and then see if we could get full-size drones to actually be produced from that. I would be interested in doing that, especially if there was if we could find a queen with a specific phenotype, like a certain body color or something like that that we wanted just to experiment with, so that we could definitely see that that these drones were connected to that. I picked a hive up in North Raleigh last spring, and the drones that came out of it were almost like light beer color. I mean, they were almost blonde. It was very interesting. And those drones, I think that they actually did breed with some of my queens, because I had some lighter colored workers in some hives. And my bees typically run a little bit darker, so I was kind of surprised they were a nice uh, blonde auburn color.
That sounds like the bees I had out here last year, but that queen ran out. Uh, she had been producing for 3 years as of last spring, and so that was what her brood looked like. The worker bees were lighter color and blonde, kind of blonde looking.
Yeah.
And she was a very productive queen too.
I mentioned the Buckfast line, and those are lighter bees, and so there's some genetics there. It could be a connection. But again, that's why, knowing the phenotype of your bees, and to be able to tell, that it's your bees or not. That's part of it.
Jason, if you're looking for gentle bees, you may not want to be having Buckfast.
So interesting thing about Buckfast and the gentleness is that the true Buckfast from Denmark are supposed to be very gentle, but some of the other lines that we've gotten in the United States are not necessarily known for their gentleness. So that's something that I've read into, and I know there's the folks in Texas that have the Buckfast. They claim to be Buckfast line, but I've heard horror stories about the meanness of the ones from Texas. So
You
Phil, which
probably have
one?
Africanized
And that's a
traits in them,
possibility.
but there's
But
a guy that does a blog in England, and I can't remember his name, but he took over for a guy that had been doing beekeeping for years and years and had a blog, who's written extensively, and he said that he's had Buckfast bees in England run him out of the apiary.
that's odd. That's interesting. I know that you talk about the Africanized bees in Texas. I lived in Texas for 30 years, and I remember when it started, and the bees were moving up that way, and you could see, they had traps. They basically had swarm traps every quarter mile down the highway. If they had a big east-west highway, they would put swarm traps every quarter mile, so that they could, try and catch Africanized bees and see where they were at. But the fortunately for South Texas, the mite has pretty much annihilated the Africanized bee in Texas. So there's one positive side to the mite, if anybody's looking for one. Anybody else?
Um, I'm not getting anything on Facebook.
That's okay.
I may have a queen for you, so I'll call you separately and discuss it with you.
Okay. Sounds great.
I'm going to get rid of some queens too. You're welcome to them.
Well, I mean, somebody gave me my first bees, and I'm not sure if they want the credit for giving me the bees, so I'm not going to say their name since everybody in this room, everybody on this meeting knows who they are. But since he gave me my first bees, I've tried to give other people queens, tried to give other people some nukes, and so, I mean, if I get extra queens and they're not horrible, then I'm going to give them to people and tell them, hey, these are not going to be the the prize winning queens, but at least you'll be able to experiment. And I remember when I was a new beekeeper and having that first hive, and that was an amazing experience, and I want to pass that along to anybody else. So yeah, if somebody gives me queens and and they can be rehabilitated and they're not horrible people, or not horrible people, but if they're not horrible queens, then I will try to find new homes for them for sure. But I got plenty of room right now, so at 20.
Well,
Go ahead.
one of those 4-H hives was a rehabilitated queen from the ag center that wouldn't lay out there.
Yeah.
Put her with a bunch of Russians, and she's laying up a storm. She was in this month's Beekeeper's Corner. So Miss Lily's carrot queen. So,
That's awesome.
different environments results in different effects. And sometimes a change of environment's what they need.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Are there any more questions, guys?
That's all for me.
Okay. Well, Jason, I thought that was an awesome presentation. Touched on a lot of things I hadn't been aware of as a beekeeper myself, and how important a role the drone does play. So thank you. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Absolutely great.
Yep.
It's good. It's good to hear about the genetics of things as well. So it's very interesting. Thank you for the explanation of the vocabulary. I did think that could be overlooked. I was able to follow along after, so I appreciate it. It was great. But there's no other questions, guys. I think we're kind of just moving right along in March. I know it's a busy time, and we're preparing for our the flow, and of course swarm season. So again, just there's plenty of resources out here for you to reach out to somebody who can give you direction or insight on any concern you may have with beekeeping. So please, Facebook, Ag Center, newsletter, website. There's a list of people's names that can contact you, or you can contact them and they can help you. So please, if you need that help, reach out, because it is going to be a busy season, and if you're a new beekeeper, it can be a lot. So there's folks here to help you, and we hope to be able to provide them as you need it. So again, if there's no other questions, guys, I think we're adjourned. You're welcome to hang out.
I got 2 questions.
Yep.
One for Al, if he'd ask his students who attended on Saturday how we can improve things, what they thought of the visit at the Ag Center, would appreciate it. And then, Greg, I've got a question for you. You all have hive scales up at your 5 counties apiary, don't you?
Yep.
Do you all post that on your scale? Is it posted on the internet anywhere where people can read it?
It is for sure if you've got access to the Solution B account. And John, I am not a tech guy, so I can't tell you how to get to it, but positively it's out there somewhere. I've got one of the accounts, but I wouldn't know how to share it. But
let me tell you what I want to do. We've got 2 hive scales. Yep. And I want to get them set up on our hives there, where anybody in the county could look at our hives and see the weights.
Yep.
And I figure you all got technology folks up there that seem to be pretty astute at that,
Yep.
rather than reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Um,
We do, John, but it ain't me. Anya McGurk, I think is how she
Oh.
says her name.
yeah,
Yeah, Anya, if you email Anya, she'll get you included.
cool. I got her
we've got
email.
we started they call it a special interest group, SIG's hive monitoring. So we've also got brood minders in there which monitor temperature. We don't have any of the humidity ones yet, but I think we're going to get some of those too. But so we've got temperature gauges and scales on them. And if I can tell you a cool story real quick. So when we left you guys apiary, our apiary, Johnson County apiary, Saturday, I went to 5 County apiary, and we were mostly just doing the horizontal hive, but we had made notes that the previous visit, which was 2 weeks ago, 14 days, right, that we found queen cups that had eggs in them. So you can do the math pretty good,
Right.
At the time. So we did go through that one hive, and so as soon as I was doing it, I actually had a beginner with me, and she started going through it, and I knew something, I could tell, you usually can. So anyway, we one long spotted a queen with we tag all of our queens. We tag them all with a number, and we spotted a queen without a tag, and I said, this ain't the only queen in this hive, y'all get ready, this is gonna be fun. And so we got that one, and they wanted to mark them. I would not have done that, by the way. They're virgin queens, they're hours or day, maybe a day old. But anyway, that was not my call. But anyhow, they marked her with a green dot. And by the time they finished marking her, I said, I hope somebody else got another queen cage. Here's another one. Long story short, we found 3, and I still felt like we left some hanging.
Wow.
So we found 3 virgin queens in there. And as it turned out, so the hive monitoring part about it's cool. So it was kind of funny because Anya actually told me, as soon as I started, I said, this hive's already swarmed. She said, looks like a lot of bees. I said, this hive is swarmed. I'm telling you, it's already swarmed. And she said, no, it didn't. I didn't get it on my hive data. I said, whatever, Anya, I'm telling you, I've been in a lot of hives, this hive swarmed. So after I started finding it, she went back through her hive data closer. And sure enough, at 12:04 the day before, it was a little bitty drop. It was only about 4 pounds, but it dropped about 4 pounds right away, And so it was a small swarm. But then we questioned the guy, Crazy Dave. You met Crazy Dave. He's really not the landowner, but he's the one that kind of looks after the piece of land. And so Crazy Dave walked out there, and we started questioning him, and he said, oh yeah, I had a swarm come by here. Said, matter of fact, I called Tim, looked at the time, 12:10. So, that was the swarm that left from there at 12:04. Then it got even more interesting. Anya didn't do it then, but she emailed me later when she got home, and the brood minder actually went off of the chart. The temperature went off of the chart at exactly 12:04. So it right before the swarm, it went, and I can't remember the temperature, but it stays right in there, obviously about 95 degrees or whatever, and it just all of a sudden spiked all the way off of the chart and dropped right back down, and all of that stuff correlated perfectly. So they said, well, you got to have a brood minder and a scale, and I said, or you could just open up the hive and look and say it swarmed, but but it was a fun day.
That was from the one from England, not the broodminder.
I might not know about that, Phil. I know we